All right, so we're continuing with Sri Sharda Devi and her divine play. And also, just so it goes on the recording for those who are interested, we're doing a book club. We're going to meet the first Friday of every month on Zoom. And we're reading Valmiki's Ramayana as translated by William Buck. And so you read ahead of time, and then we'll discuss during the class the first Friday of every month at 4:30. And I'll put the information up on One Spirit and pass it around to folks in general. We're on page 614, The Mother's Omniscience is where we'll start. All right. That was sounding all too familiar to me. I was like, well, that's odd. either I'm reading something again or I'm having a spiritual experience. All right. The Mother's Omniscience. God is omniscient, omnipotent, and omnipresent, right? That means he's everywhere. He knows everything. He is all powerful, and he is everywhere at once. Holy Mother was endowed with all of these characteristics, but she did not manifest them all at once. She knew everything collectively, as well as individually. She was aware of the past, the present, and future of her disciples, and she guided them on the path of blessedness. She did not embarrass them by revealing their shortcomings in front of others. Fault finding was not in her nature. She removed her disciples' fears and delusion by reassuring them with her motherly love and affection. Many of them were overwhelmed when they witnessed her divine power. You can see this is a wonderful outline for how to be a great leader, how to be a great teacher right here. If you just look at that, you know that she was very familiar with all of her disciples. She never embarrassed them by revealing their shortcomings, right? And we see that in one of the in 1 Corinthians 13, that whole description of love. That's one of them, is that we don't make each other, we don't make fun of each other, we don't encourage, we don't point out each other's faults. Fault finding was not in her nature. She removed her disciples' fear, right? So she made everybody feel welcome and comfortable. She removed their delusion by reassuring them, right? And she did all of this with motherly love and affection. And many of them were overwhelmed when they witnessed her divine power. So this is the nature of God, that he does not seek anybody's embarrassment. He's not easily angered. He always hopes, always trusts, always believes, never fails. So these are the ideals of the divine. And this is why Holy Mother was remembered as the Holy Mother. Vedanta says that the absolute truth is beyond mind and speech, but it is not beyond reason. Human beings are guided by faith and reason. In other words, by the heart and the intellect. The intellect clears the path of truth, and the heart pushes forward along it. Blaise Pascal said, "We know the truth not only by reason, but also by the heart. People invariably fail when they try to understand the truth only through reason, because the intellect has limitations. Truth stands the test of experience. There are some episodes of Holy Mother's life that we cannot explain, but we shall present them to the readers and let them come to their own conclusions." Well, this ought to be curious for sure. I like this idea, though, of head and heart, faith and reason, because that's also where we've put the divine absolute. We've placed that here in the shrine symbolically, and then the world of change, the world of unrepeated, constant change, is the world of thought, the world of mind, the world of intellect. So I see that difference, separation and yet unity in it, right? They are something that cannot be separated, but usually because of the senses or the way that we perceive, we would call them separate, right? Like fire and its heat, right? Fire and its power to burn. They are one thing. You can't separate them, but we separate them. Why? Because we can see the fire with our eyes and we feel the heat with our hands. And so we get two different streams of information about fire. So it seems like a dual relationship to us. And that's part of our problem with not being able to see the unity of all things, because the first thing our body does is break that unity into five pieces, right? It takes in the light through the eyes, it takes in the sound through the ears, it takes in the taste through the mouth, the feeling through the skin. So all those parts of reality, that singularity, get broken into five pieces, and then the mind, in a very clumsy way, tries to recreate that oneness in the mind by taking in all that information and drawing lines of relationship to it. Fire, okay, that's bright when you look at it with the eyes. Oh, and here I've got something that's fire through the senses, through the sense of touch. So fire is hot. Okay, so fire and hotness are related, right? And so it goes on like that. And that's what conventional learning is taking information in through the senses and organizing it into its unitary form inside by learning its relationships with all of the other things that you know. And that's secular learning, right? Now, God can't be learned that way because she is infinite in every way. And so it won't be able to fit in the mind. The mind doesn't have enough boxes, doesn't have enough drawers or catalog drawers to put God in that entirety, right? So it will always be a partial truth. As long as it's something we can say with our mouth, it's going to be a partial truth, because the mouth can only reiterate what has been placed in the mind in its relative ordering. And so it obeys the same rules as the mind, that subject, object, verb, and that time, space, causation triad that's necessary, and past, present, future. I don't know. I have to think about it sometime if those three triads are three different triads or if they're three different takes on a single triad. Anyway, think about it. If you come up with an answer, let me know at the end. All right. In the early days, when Holy Mother was staying at the Nahabat in Dakshineshwar, Yogan Ma would visit her and the master once a week. Yogan used to worship Lord Shiva in her Calcutta residence every day, and she used bilwa leaves for the ritual. She would pick fresh bilwa leaves from the Dakshineshwar garden and carry them to Calcutta. But by the time of worship, the leaves were dried up. One day the mother asked, Yogan, do you worship using dried bilwa leaves? Surprised, Yogan Ma replied, Why, yes, Ma, I do. How did you know about it? The mother calmly said, Well, during my meditation this morning, I saw you worshiping with dried bilwa leaves. On the evening of there's a footnote there, but it's 57. I don't even know where I would find that. Let's see, just a second. Maybe that's the end of the chapter. Well, I don't know. I'll look for it later. The mother replied calmly, During my meditation this morning, I saw you worshiping with dried bilwa leaves. So this is one of her miracles, that she's omnipresent, that she was at, she saw Golap Ma or Yogan Ma's practice that morning, her worship. She saw it in the eye of her meditation and was aware that she was giving dried bilwa leaves. On the evening of the 20th of September, 1918, Sarajubala Sen came to Udbodhan House. Mandakini was rubbing oil on Holy Mother's back. Nalini and other women were also near the mother. The mother was then praising Yogan Ma's and Golap Ma's visions and spiritual experiences. Nalini asked, Aunt, I hear so many people get deep meditation and visions, but I don't experience anything. I've been living with you for such a long time, but what have I achieved? Holy Mother replied, Why do you not get these experiences? People have experiences because they have so much devotion and faith. Look, one needs faith and devotion. What do you have? Nalini said, Aunt, people say that you are omniscient. Is it true? What could you tell me what is in my mind? The Holy Mother smiled. When Nalini insisted, the mother said, They say that out of their devotion. Then she continued, I am nobody. The master is everything. She folded her hands and bowed to the master's photo and said, "All of you pray to the master. Let there be no ego in me." This is a perfect, actually, I'm going to highlight this section right here, because this is a perfect way to understand the nature of the incarnation of God. That he egoism is Satan, right? Ego, we've talked about how the Christian deity of evil, which is the other way to talk about it. The Christian deity of evil is Satan, but in reality, in the way that you see Satan used in the Christian scriptures, you can see that he's really a characterization of egoism, right? And it's interesting because when you go and look at the temptation of Jesus, when Satan took him out to the desert for 40 days and he tempted him out there, he was tempting him with egotistical things. He was saying, throw yourself off this cliff. It's said that if you're the son of God and you fall, that God will catch you with his angels. So why don't you fall? Let's see if he catches you with his angels, right? And then he offers him kingdoms and offers him power and says, I'll give you all of this if you bow down to me, right? And so all of them were acts of egoism. So he was tempted by acts of egoism in all three of those situations. And so you see here, Mother is also in a way being tempted with egoism, to show off her ability to read minds. And Mother then makes a very important point and says, look, you only heard that because people say that about me out of their devotion. And then she really drives it home. She says, I am nobody. The master is everything. Right. And so that's how the sages always are. They always point to the other divinities, the other manifestations of divinity, to say that is everything. I am nothing. Right. Because egoism is the veil of Maya. Egoism is bondage. Right. It is the reason. Egoism is what ties us to our karma. Right. Because we claim ourselves to be the doer. And that's the final effect of egoism, that we think ourselves to be the doer. And because we think ourselves to be the doer, we think ourselves responsible for what is done. And that is karma, taking responsibility or owning responsibility for what we have done. That's our bondage to karma. But the scripture says we're not the doer. So we actually, in actuality, do not have any karma, cannot have any karma. And so we have to get our ego self, let go of that ego self, which dwells as a thought in the mind of thoughts. We have to let go of that identity. And when we let go of that identity, we let go of the suitcase that identity holds all of its karma in. Right. And so we are free that way. Now, that may not mean that the body mind don't go through that karma. They still will. But you will know that you are not the body mind. So you will not be suffering that karma. You will not be attached to the suffering, since you're not attached to the body. Right? So a very interesting state to be in, but beautiful. All of you pray to the master, let there be no ego in me. Right? So that's our prayer. That's the same as a prayer for liberation. To say, let there be no ego, is the same thing as let me be enlightened. Let me know my true nature. Show me freedom. All of those prayers would be the same. A woman from Dhaka then said, my son says, what shall I say to the mother? She is Jagadamba, the mother of the universe. She knows what is in every mind. Sarajubala replied, many of us address the mother as the divine mother of the universe, but the Lord alone knows the extent of our conviction. When skeptics like us proclaim her divinity, it's sort of parrotry. Right? And that's the honesty of it, right? Vivekananda said, if all of us were honest, the vast majority of us are atheists, he says. That we talk of God and we think of God, but we don't live as if God exists. If we truly believed in God, there would be no room for egoism. Right? If we truly believed in God, there would be no egoism. Why? Because we would know God is everywhere present. So where would I be? if God is everywhere present? Where is Swami C at? Where is Kiran at? Where's the room for our personality if God is everywhere present? And God is all knowing. So where are my secrets if God is all knowing? Where is my knowledge compared to God's knowledge when God is all knowing? Right? And God is omnipotent, all powerful. Where is there room for my power if God is all powerful? Where do I get my activation, my doership from if it is God that has all power? Right? And so you can see, if we believed in God, we could not possibly believe in ourselves. Right? We could not claim our own existence if we believed in God, because we would know there's no need for it. We would understand that we were dream characters in this play of the divine, in this divine dream. So for when skeptics like us proclaim her divinity, it's sort of a parrotry. Holy Mother smiles and says, "You're right, my child." Right? So she's backing it up. Yes, that's true. Sarojubala continued, "The mother is a veritable goddess. If the mother does not make us understand this out of compassion, is it possible to comprehend that?" Right? So there again is giving the power of all Shakti to mother. Right? If mother doesn't allow you to understand something, you will not understand it. That goes very closely with what Prabhupada told me when we were sitting in that library of a devotee's library at his house, and I was marveling at all the books that he had. And Swami Prabhupada smiled, said, "Yes, but he can only read the ones that his karma allows." I found that to be the most titillating statement. I was like, wow, that's cool. You can own all the books you want, but you will only read the ones your karma allows. And so that is the same as saying the mother, we only read the books that mother allows. We only say the mantra when mother allows. That's why when you hear your mantra going through your mind, especially if it starts of its own accord, or you realize that it's already going, right? That's grace. That's a direct manifestation of grace, that you know that mother is with you, that she's allowing you to repeat the holy name, which is your way to freedom. If the mother does not make us understand this out of compassion, is it possible to comprehend it? Utter absence of egotism is the convincing proof of the mother's divinity, right? Because that is, when Ramakrishna described himself as a hole through which God can be seen. It's a hole through what? Through egoism, right? It's the hole through egoism that allows us to see God. And so egoism, our sense of self, is the veil. That is what blocks us from seeing God. And so an avatar is an utter absence of egoism. All right. They just grab a little tiny bit of it. That's why Thakur would say, give me, I'm thirsty. When he was trying to come down from samadhi, he would say he was thirsty, because that would indicate an idea of individuality, separateness. He was sometimes asked for a jalebi or a sweet of some kind, right? Or he said the one that he used most regularly to hold himself in the body was his love for the devotees, his desire to be with the devotees. So that egoism had to be formed at some level. There's no manifestation without egoism, right? So egoism is mother's tool for creating the play. Utter absence of egotism is the convincing proof of the mother's divinity. A human being is so full of ego. Every day we see hundreds of people prostrating themselves before the mother and calling her Goddess Lakshmi, Mother of the Universe. Were she a mere human being, she would be puffed up with pride. Has a human being the power to withstand so much honor? Pleased, the mother looked up upon Sarojubala with her eyes full of grace. Prafula Gangopadhyaya recalled, "One day, while offering food to the master, I saw a current of light falling on the offering from his picture. Referring to this, I asked the mother, Mother, is the vision of mine true or fantasy? If it is a fantasy, please do something so that I can be free from it. After a brief pause, the mother replied, No, it is not a fantasy, my child. You have seen right. Do you know what I see? Profula asked. Yes, I do. Does the master accept the food that I offer to him? Do you also accept the food that I offer to you? Yes. How can I understand this? Mother replied, Well, have you not read in the Gita that God accepts the fruit, flowers, water, and other things that are offered to him with devotion? Surprised, Prafula exclaimed, Are you then God? At this, Holy Mother burst into laughter. It was the 13th of November, 1913. After the Vesper service, the mother lay down on her bed in Udbodhan house. Yogan Ma was also there. The mother was a little drowsy. Suddenly, she got up and said, Is Purna dead, Yogan? Yogan Ma was amazed to hear this question and asked, Who has told you this, mother? The mother replied, I was asleep, and suddenly I heard someone saying, Purna is dead. Yogan Ma then confirmed, Yes, mother. Purna did die this afternoon. I did not tell you, mother. That evening, the mother talked about Purna and expressed her sorrow. Some days after Lal Mohan, later Swami Kapileshwarananda, received initiation from the mother, a doubt arose in his mind. What have I done? Alas, I took initiation from a woman. Oh my goodness. I did that once. Took initiation from a woman. Gradually, this created severe mental anguish. My goodness. Finally, he decided that he would have to give up the mantra if the master did not remove his mental conflict. The next day, Swami Premananda sent Lal Mohan to Udbodhan house from Belur Math with milk for Holy Mother. As soon as Lal Mohan bowed down to her, she said to him, Look, I did not give you the mantra. It was the master who gave it. A few days later, that doubt cropped up again, and he thought, I shall believe that the master has given me the mantra only if Haran Babu tells me that he has received power from the mother. Some days later, during the master's birthday festival, Haran Babu went to Udbodhan house, bowed down to the mother, and then went to Belur Math. He took Lal Mohan. Today I have received a special power from the mother. Thus Lal Mohan became free from doubts. Right? You see how deep these traditions can go. As a Westerner, I read that and I'm scratching my head. I'm like, how could getting a mantra from a woman cause such a big problem? Such a doubt, so much that he would be willing to give up that mantra. It seems amazing. And it just shows you the power of this world, the power of your memory, the power of your traditions, the power of your biases, the power of our enculturations, of where we're raised. How deep and how thick is this layering of egoism on us with all of our likes and dislikes, our beliefs and non-beliefs, right? All of these things just piled on this birthday cake of an existence, layer after layer. Chirodbala Roy. What a name. Chirodbala Roy was a young widow from Sylhet who came to Udbodhan house for initiation from Holy Mother. Her brother-in-law was a disciple of the mother. It was decided that she would receive initiation the next day. Her brother-in-law was to escort her, but that evening the mother told him that Chirodbala would be sick the next day, so the initiation would take place on the following day. After returning from Udbodhan, Chirodbala was sick with dizziness. Despite her illness, she made herself ready. However, her brother-in-law did not show up. Then at noon, he came and told Chirodbala that the mother had said what the mother had said the previous evening. The next morning, Chirodbala and her brother-in-law went to Holy Mother. She brought fruit and sweets, flowers and bell leaves, and a new sari for the initiation. She saw Holy Mother waiting for her near the door. Immediately, Holy Mother took her to the shrine and asked her to sit on an asana. Chirodbala had tied 2 rupees in the corner of her cloth for her return carriage fare. When Chirodbala was about to sit on the asana, Holy Mother said, "My child, you have come to take shelter in the Master, who renounced lust and gold. There are 2 rupees tied in the corner of your sari. Take them out." Immediately, Chirodbala removed those rupees and put them on the floor near the wall. Then the mother initiated her and reassured her, saying, "Don't be afraid. Now you have been reborn. I have absorbed the results of your karma done in past lives. You are now pure and sinless." Wow. So there you get a lovely insight to the power of initiation, right? That at that point that the guru can take all of your faults away, all of your negative karma. Now you have been reborn. I have absorbed the results of your karma done in past lives. So all of it taken care of, right? And it's important to understand that when we get initiation, it's not by the person giving us initiation. That person is only the face of the one true guru. So there's only one guru in this world, but that guru has many, many faces. And that one guru permeates all of the religions and all of the traditions. And so that same guru is teaching all of mankind, all of humankind, and taking responsibility for us. And so when we go and get an initiation, that's on our part, that's our expression of our desire to know God. It's an expression of our desire for oneness. And God, and when in the Gita, when Krishna is talking to Arjuna, he says, "Anytime anybody makes any effort to know me by any means, I will meet him through those means." Right? So that is the one thing that is so important in us. Just reach out. Does not matter what your condition is, what your circumstance is. If you can get your mind to form the words, "I take refuge in you," that is all that is necessary. Just reach out and say those words. If you're, whatever kind of trouble you're in, if you can remember, right? Just, even if that trouble is all of your own doing, even if you're in the midst of doing it, if you can manage to get your mind to come together and to call out just once for Mother, for the divine, for God, God will come. By every promise that she has ever made, she will come. And so that is where faith is met by love in that situation. You are now pure and sinless. What words? Holy cow. Gokuldas Demet, Gokuldas D, Gokuldas D, met Holy Mother in Udbodhan House in 1909 when he was a student. He asked Swami Sharadananda for a picture of the Mother. The Swami told him that he could have one if he would worship it every day. Gokuldas decided not to take the picture because he was then studying for a BA degree in Rangoon, Burma. When he returned to Rangoon after his vacation, he became seriously ill and almost lost hope for his life. However, he experienced the Mother's presence and gradually recuperated from that illness. In October of 1911, Gokuldas took a break from his studies and returned to Calcutta. During this time, M taught him how to chant the Gita and the Chandi. Gokuldas continued to visit the Holy Mother regularly in Udbodhan. He felt that it was through her grace that he had recovered from his illness. One day, he went for a walk on the bank of the Ganges and found the Mother sitting on the lower step of the ghat, repeating her mantra. From a distance, he began to recite a hymn from the Chandi in a low voice. "O Mother, you are pleasing, yea, more pleasing than all the pleasing things, and exceedingly beautiful. You are indeed the supreme goddess, beyond the high and low. Holy Mother turned toward Gokul Das, raised her hands and blessed him, and again became absorbed in japa. Oh my God, that is so beautiful. Just even seeing it in your mind's eye is so sweet. What a marvelous thing. One evening, while massaging the mother's feet with medicated oil for her rheumatism, Swami Arupananda silently prayed to have the mother's disease in his own body so that she would be cured. The mother smiled a little and said to him, "My son, what are you thinking? You live long. I am old. How much longer shall I live? You should not think like that. May the master grant you a long life." Saying so, she put her hand on Arupananda's head and blessed him. God, so beautiful. Wow. That's holy company, you know. Even though we're just reading about them, what holy company they're giving us, thinking and seeing these things in our eyes as we read about them. Oh my, what beautiful people they were, that he would sit there wanting himself to become deathly ill so that mother could live, and then mother looking at him and blessing him beyond that and saying, "Look, I'm old. Let me die. Let me have these diseases. You be free." Lalit Mohan Saha of Dhaka recalled, "In 1918, while living in Calcutta, I was suffering from terrible restlessness of the mind. I was piqued and decided not to visit the mother anymore. But my friends persuaded me to go to Udbodhan House. There I saw many devotees waiting to bow down to the mother. They bowed down one after the other, and she did not say a single word to anyone. At last I bowed down to her, and she affectionately asked, 'My son, are you keeping well?' In a piqued voice I answered, 'Yes, mother, I'm fine.' The mother smiled and said to me, 'What is this, my son? This is the mind's nature. Simply because of it should you behave this way.'" Right? Giving us a big clue there that just because your mind is in a particular mood or condition, you have the option of not obeying it because you are not it, right? So you see that little bit of power that mother shows us that we have there, of not being controlled by the situation or the condition of the mind. So when it's angry, if you can just separate yourself and look at it as the source of anger, then you know that you are not under it. The mind is in you. You are not in the mind. Right? In 1914, Mahendranath Gupta of Barasal received initiation from Holy Mother, and then in 1915, he went to Jairambati to see her. Mahendra reminisced, "I had a desire to offer flowers and sandal paste at the mother's feet. I wondered where I could get those things in this unfamiliar place. Meanwhile, a niece of the mother brought flowers and sandal paste to me and conveyed her message that if I wanted to offer these, I should go to her now and offer them." You see, this is the thing, it's this is the one thing that those 2 years in Colorado really showed to me, that mother really does work this way, that this is not in books. This is not a matter of story. This is a matter of record. This is what mother does. And it's when you start paying attention, not when you become super spiritual or not when you become super whatever. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with when you pay attention and you start to see that mother has been working and doing all of these things for you all of your days. And you have just constantly interpreted it all as your doing, right? That you're the one responsible for it. And it's not until we get rid of that egoism, that assumption that we do these things, that we begin to see, experience them as being done for us or to us by Mother, right? We begin to walk in Mother's world instead of our own world. Swami Tanmayananda recalled, one day on my way to Jairambati from Kualpara, I was thinking that I would be very happy if I could give a little personal service to the Mother. When I arrived there, I found the Mother seated with her legs stretched out in front of her. A cup of oil was on the ground next to her. I began to rub one of her legs with the oil. The Mother said, "Look, I feel acute pain in this leg. Rub oil on this leg and put some pressure on it." I massaged her leg for about 25 minutes. Finally, the Mother said, "Are you satisfied now? I shall go to bathe, and then I shall have to worship the Master. Take your lunch here before you leave." I'm having terrible thoughts. I'm thinking, well, maybe at the next retreat I'll offer my service by letting people rub my legs with oil. Maybe. Now I have to do some editing. One afternoon, Prafula Mukhi Bashu, a woman disciple, saw Mandakini changing the covers of the Mother's quilt and mattress. A thought flashed through her mind. I wish I could give this service to the Mother. When Mandakini left, the Mother entered the room. When she saw her bed, she remarked, "Oh, just see, my daughter, how she has muddled everything. She has reversed one cover for the other. My child, please change the covers and make the bed again." Thus the Mother fulfilled Prafula Mukhi's unexpressed wish. Swami Bhumananda recalled, one day Golap Ma was cutting vegetables and remarked, "The Mother gave me liberation today." We asked, "What happened, Golap Ma?" Golap Ma told us, "The other day, a nun came from Varanasi and begged for money to pay her guru's debt. The Mother never asks for money from anyone, nor does she ask anybody to give money to someone. But she whispered to me, 'Golap, what is the necessity of keeping those ones, the gold coins? Why don't you give them to this nun?' Dumbfounded, I asked, 'What are you talking about, Mother?' She replied, 'Well, I'm talking about the wealth that you have been holding onto all these years like a miser. In fact, I had saved 3 gold coins in my house secretly for many years. I brought them from my home and gave them to the nun. Now my mind is light and carefree.' Golap Ma's financial condition was so poor, so that she had kept those 3 gold coins in case of any difficulty. But the omniscient Mother released her from that attachment to them so that she could depend wholly on God." Wow, there's the favor right there. That's why we don't lay up money. Because that's the deceit. We slowly begin to count on our money rather than counting on God. We take refuge in money. Wow. There's no way to escape that. I mean, that's why it's so important. Of course, it's different. Householders can lay up money. It's the monastics that aren't allowed to lay up money. My goodness. I brought them from my home and I gave them to the nun, and now my mind is light and carefree. Indeed. The giver of liberation. Liberation is the final goal of human life. All beings consciously or unconsciously seek freedom because freedom is the nature of the soul. According to Vedanta, there are 3 kinds of liberation: Jivan Mukti, or liberation while living in this body; Videha Mukti, or liberation upon leaving the body; and Krama Mukti, or liberation while passing through the higher realms. The scriptures say Jnanat Moksha, that is, liberation, is possible through the knowledge of Brahman. This knowledge does not come until a person is completely free from desire, right? Which would actually be the same way as saying completely free from egoism, right? Because to be completely free from desire, you would have to know your oneness with all that there is to be desired. You would have to know that there are no boundaries of self for you, that you are infinite in that reach. And all desire originates from ignorance, right? That forgetfulness of our nature, that thought that there's something out there to get. That's exactly why, again, in that wonderful story of Eve in Eden in the Bible, when she looked at that fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, right? She saw that it was beautiful. She wanted to eat it. And she thought it would give her something, that it would make her whole, would make her like God. And that's from ignorance. Now, what brought her to ignorance? The reasoning, improper reasoning in her mind brought her to ignorance. By getting caught up in her reason with the snake and their discussion, and he was, telling her wrong things and messing up her thinking, and got her for a moment, just in a moment, to forget that she was created in the image of God, and made her think that she needed to be like God, that she wasn't like God at this moment. That's ignorance. As day and night can never be together, so the knowledge of Brahman, or God, and the desire for the world cannot dwell simultaneously in the human heart. Ramakrishna said, God cannot be realized if there is the slightest attachment to the things of the world. A thread cannot pass through the eye of a needle if the tiniest fiber sticks out. So human beings are born again and again in this world to fulfill their desires. In Jairamati on the 5th of January 1910, Mother said to Arupananda, as long as a person has desires, there is no end to his transmigration. It is desire alone that makes him take one body after another. There will be rebirth for a person if he has even the desire to eat a piece of sandesh. It is for this reason that a variety of foodstuffs are brought to Bellarmont, so that monks can satisfy all of their desires for food. Desire may be compared to a tiny seed. It is like a big banyan tree growing out of a seed that is no bigger than a dot. Remember, rebirth is inevitable as long as one has desire. It is like taking the soul from one pillowcase and putting it into another. Only one or two people out of many can be found who are free from all desires. Though one gets a new body on account of desire, yet one does not completely lose spiritual consciousness if one has the merits from a previous birth to one's credit. Right? So Vivekananda says the only thing that follows us beyond the grave is virtue. Right? So any effort, that's another act of grace on the part of the divine, is that any effort that you make to move forward is not lost, right? Any movement forward is maintained, even though you take a new body. All right. Mother never read Vedanta philosophy, but her teachings beautifully concurred with the conclusions of the Vedanta. According to Vedanta, the desire for progeny, the desire for wealth, and the desire for name and fame bind a soul. The soul is released with the sensation of desire. The dissolution of the mind and illumination takes place simultaneously. Right? So the soul is released with the cessation, the end of desire, the dissolution of the mind, right? Of the mind, the disturbed mind, the mind with me and mine in it, and illumination take place simultaneously. So those three things happen at once. Your desires disappear, the mind dissolves, and illumination comes to you. On the 26th of May, 1911, in Jairamati, Arupananda had a wonderful conversation with Holy Mother regarding bondage and liberation. We'll just read this conversation and then end for the day. Well, Rupananda asked, will sannyasins who profess the ideal of Vedanta attain nirvana? Surely, Holy Mother replied. By gradually cutting off the bonds of Maya, they will attain nirvana and merge themselves in God. This body is, no doubt, the outcome of desire. The body cannot live unless there is a trace of desire. All comes to an end when one gets rid of desire completely. Well, Mother, the Master used to say that Ishvarakotis can come back to the relative plane of consciousness even after the attainment of nirvana. Others cannot do so. What does that mean? The Ishvarakoti, even after the attainment of nirvana, can draw his mind back from it and direct it to the ordinary plane of consciousness. How can the mind that has merged itself in God be brought back again to the world? How can one ever separate a jar of water from the water of the lake it has been poured into? Not everyone can do so. Only a Paramahamsa can. A Hamsa, or swan, can separate the milk from a mixture of water and milk, and then drink only the milk. Can everyone be rid of desire? If they could, then this creation would come to an end. The creation continues because everyone cannot be free from desire. People with desire take birth again and again. All right, we'll stop there for the day.